Hello and welcome to WMT Reviews. I am Wiseman Antonovsky, and today we're moving on to the second part of our Generations Combaticon series with this guy. This is Generations Combaticon Swindle. Now we'll get the fluff out of the way nice and quickly. Out of the Combaticon team, Swindle is the most non-team player of the lot. Swindle is the team's munitions manager. He's in charge of acquiring and managing the weaponry that the Combaticon team uses. Basically, Onslaught gives him a wish list of what he'll need for the strategy. Swindle goes out and acquires it. But out of the team, he's probably the most cowardly and the most likely to bail out on a mission for the sole purpose of self-preservation. Now, Swindle is, as you can see here, quite a nifty little combat buggy, equipped with an almost fully rotating pea shooter mounted on the top, and it's got nice chunky off-road wheels, and it's quite heavily armoured. It's a nifty little car, and I do rather like the design on this. There's a lot of people who don't like the design on Swindle's vehicle mode, but I am not one of these. I rather like it. If we pop off his pea shooter, you see it's just a very simple gun. This obviously combines with the other Combaticon weapons to form Bruticus's sonic cannon. We'll get to that when we get to it. Now, Swindle's vehicle mode is cast in this very, very bright yellow. I don't like the bright yellow, I have to say. This is the retail release of the Bruticus set, so it's not cast in his Fall of Cybertron more gritty and dirty yellow. It's just a very solid yellow with no wash on it at all. It's also got this purple, which is very classic Decepticon purple, and some nice silver paint apps dashed here and there on the machinery. There's no paint apps on the wheels, which I've got to admit I'm kind of disappointed by, because one thing the Fall of Cybertron game had was some lovely light details on the wheels that were very, very cool indeed. He's also got arms sticking out underneath his vehicle mode. They're disguised as these sort of exhaust bays. Also, I don't know what this is all about, this bit here. Probably to add extra stability when the thing's in foot mode, but what can you do? Now, the transformation is pretty much as simple as the rest. Break it in the middle, lift that bit up to reveal the shoulders, fold them up like that, rotate the wheels until you get them in a position that you like. Bring this around like this. You've got to fold these bits on his arms round the sides. Flip this top bit round and peg it into the torso. Around here somewhere. There we go. Rotate the body around. Break open the legs. Flip open his very chunky feet, and flip up the obligatory Combaticon head reveal. And here you have Swindle in his robot mode, and I've got to say there is a lot of black on this guy. There is an awful lot of black in there that they didn't really know what to do. Could have really done with a bit of silver on some of these black areas. But, who am I to judge? I love the head sculpt on this guy. The head sculpt is just perfect. Except maybe lacking in a smirk or something similar to that. Overall, I absolutely love this robot mode, although I will say it's one of the robot modes that seems to refuse to stay together. This bit on which his head is mounted in particular refuses to stay pegged in. As soon as you start fiddling with it, it pops back out again. They've got very, very chunky legs. I like the chunky legs. They do restrict his posability somewhat, but you can still get some pretty cool poses out of him. See, as long as you don't really mind his feet not being flat on the ground, you can get some very cool poses out of him when you're lining up the whole team in robot mode on your shelf. Now, posability-wise, his head is on a very stiff joint that, as I say, keeps detaching his chest unit. His arms have got ball joints in them, but again, they just sort of pop out of where they're supposed to be in the robot mode when you start moving them. He's got a ball joint in his elbow. His waist can rotate a full 360. There's a ball joint in his hip and a swivel joint just below the hip, a bend in the knee, and his feet do pivot as well. So it's quite a poseable figure. It's hindered by the chunkiness of his shins. But he has no problem with staying up, doesn't fall over. He isn't restricted by a super heavy backpack. There isn't a whole lot going on behind him. I have to say, it's just very, don't look at me from this angle. Much better. No. Like this. I gotta say, in robot mode, the bright yellow doesn't really look as terrible as it looks in vehicle mode. And, for that, it's very good. It doesn't fall over. It makes it better than Brawl. So, it's another 6.5 on the Orsometer, I think. Because, whereas it is better than Brawl, it's not quite a 7, I don't think. Compared to some of the other figures we've had at 7 on the Orsometer, it's not a 7. So, 6.5 for Transformers Generations Combaticon Swindle. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Wiseman Tanofsky, and this has been WMT Reviews.